Bring the young Jedi to me. This is our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in New York, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Michael Banks in Augusta, Georgia, Nate Swanner in Portland, Oregon. This is our Android Week. And welcome to all of you on our little Android program on Google Plus and YouTube Live every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time-ish. We're late, I think. I can blame Alan. He's responsible for 3 of the late minutes. I'm responsible for 30. Okay, so first up is this crazy Android Watch topic. Google Watch functionality is happening, it says, and it's going to be a big into Google Now. So this makes sense. Alan, what do you think?
You know, if it's actually leveraging it the right way, and if they do a good job at it, then it'll be pretty cool. Otherwise, it's going to be, pretty sucky. I'm not too sure what else there is to say. I mean, it could be a good thing, but Now is an awesome tool. Everyone who actually uses it for more than 30 seconds thinks it's great, but it's not entirely clear if that's going to come through as a cool feature on a watch.
It's sort of, we've discussed this multiple times, and it's sort of the phrase, a solution in search of a problem, comes to mind, in that I want one, and it'll be cool, but I'm not exactly sure what I'll use it for, if that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. I think the other interesting thing that Nate pointed out in his article on the subject, and unfortunately Nate can't join us this evening, but one of the things Nate pointed out is that Now is a fairly closed environment. So you're not going to see a lot of apps being written for it because you can't. And I have a feeling that's going to annoy quite a few people, both users and developers.
You think at some point we're going to see sponsored content on Now? That would make sense.
You mean different from the sponsored content we already see on Now?
Well, I mean like paid ads, or you can pay to have your restaurant listed in Now.
Different from the...
Do we see it now? I don't know. I don't think... Do we see sponsored content on Now?
Sort of, if you turn those aspects on. I mean, they have things like events taking place near you and, restaurants near you, and there's got to be some level of sponsorship to that.
Bruce, what do you think? You going to rush out and buy the Google Watch?
Well, I'm kind of old school, and I'm looking at that picture, and I actually like the round one better than the square one.
Oh, dear. What about you, Duke? Are you sold? Hook, line, and sinker? You're going to rush out to Best Buy?
I've told you it's got to do more than what my phone already does before I get excited. But this one right here is piquing my interest. Google Now ought to be lightweight enough to where it ought to make a good watch that's communicating with my phone. Kind of agree with Alan. Let's see how they implement it. But if they implement it right, I'd say this could be in my future.
Google Now, Bruce, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, they need to do a better job of advertising. My brother-in-law is a very techie guy, and I'm in his office right now. He's got all kind of stuff here. He's a mainframe legacy programmer and everything. And we were sitting out in his living room. I'm in Newport Richie on vacation, and one of the Samsung Gear commercials came on, and he actually thought it was a totally standalone phone. Didn't know that it had to be paired to a Note 3.
Well, Samsung is intentionally doing that.
Yeah, with the Dick Tracy and the Jetsons and all that stuff, yeah.
Right. I mean, they don't want people to realize that it's a really sucky product.
Well, how dishonest is that? I mean, when people find...
This is Samsung. What, what kind of a question is that?
What company would want to,
deceive their users?
No, say our product sucks if it sucks. I mean, I tried these Burger King fries.
Oh, Lord.
And they suck. They taste like cardboard. But there was a gender gap. I posted about this.
Yeah.
And so the 2 females who tested, a 45-year-old and a 13-year-old, both thought it was good. And
that's rabbit trail number 1, folks.
Um, where's my Ritalin? Someone give me my Ritalin. Yeah. So, but the men didn't like them. If you're gonna cheat and eat fries, I want to know I'm eating fries. You know, I want to feel the cardiac arrest. But anyway.
You done with the fries, Dan?
Yeah, I think we're good on the fries.
I think we're good on the watch too.
All right, we're good on the watch.
I think the only other interesting aspect to this is that it's supposed to come out when KitKat comes out, and everyone's still saying October 31st for KitKat.
Okay, so another new product allegedly coming out is this Nexus 5, and there's a prototype. Are you guys excited about this? I wish Nate were here because he has the Nexus 4. Bruce, this would tempt me. A low-cost 5-inch phone, similar in size to our Note 2s, but with the full Android experience, none of the TouchWiz bloatware. Are you still like, hell no, I won't go, I'm Note 2 all the way, or does this intrigue you?
No, it intrigues me. What intrigues me more than the device itself is this is the first time that we're seeing more rumor mill generated content about a Nexus phone than we have about any previous iPhones. I find it quite interesting that the Nexus 5 is everywhere you look almost.
And I'm not getting Bruce's video, I'm not sure. I'm getting it on the phone, but not on the streaming computer. Very strange. Or the laptop computer that I bring in the stream in. The Hangout, whatever you call it, I don't know. Alan or Duke, you guys... I'm excited about the Nexus 5.
Honestly, I'm tired of the rumors. I really don't care. I'll maybe be interested when the phone comes out, but we'll see. I honestly just can't get myself excited about, a ton of rumors and vaporware, and who knows what this thing is actually going to look like.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of sick of the Nexus 5, but when it's the Nexus 5 revealing KitKat, it piques my interest a little more. Okay, but yeah, just like Alan, man, I'm sick of hearing about this. But I will tell you, you're probably looking at my next phone.
In other words, like, there's no point in the speculating.
Well, I mean, it's just been rumor after rumor after rumor, and at this point, hey, listen, I'm the same way with the HTC One Max. I'm tired of hearing about it.
Will this likely work with Sprint or at all the major carriers, or just some, or?
No, it'll likely work with all of them at this point. I mean, they'll come out with versions for all of them. They'll come out with, it'll be supporting LTE, simply because if they don't, people are just going to laugh them out of existence.
Will they, though? I mean, we're all lemmings.
Yeah, nobody's going to take them seriously if they don't actually produce a phone that's, like, up to last year's specs.
Speaking of last year's specs, when I was at the home office, I went by Sue Fisher's office. She's our NetSuite coder, and we use NetSuite as a hosted CRM. And she says, "Oh, you want to see my new phone?" And she brought out this huge phone, and it was in a pink case. And lo and behold, it was a phone that we had talked about a few shows ago. It was the Samsung Mega, and I want to tell you that phone was huge.
Is everybody getting Bruce's video?
I am.
But I see it's not switching to him when he talks.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm getting it. I'm on my phone because I'm doing 2 calls. I'm doing one that the viewers see, and then I've got one on my phone. And on my phone, I can see him talk, and when he speaks, it goes to the main screen. But on the laptop, so should he refresh, or should I refresh the laptop?
Who knows?
You should refresh the laptop.
Okay, so let's try that. So what I'll do is refresh the laptop. How the hell do I do that? Okay, up here. Well, all right, I'm going to see this, and I hope to God that they come back. This is going to be crazy here. And hopefully we'll have them back. Let's see what's going on. I'm about to join a video call, yes. Tech support glitches.
Hangouts. This happens, and it can happen to anybody.
All right, we've got Bruce. Can you guys hear
And
me?
you're muted, Dan.
All right.
Yes, click that red box. Very good, Dan.
Thank you so much. All right, so now that we've had our little glitches,
Oh, there I am. I can see myself.
yes, indeed.
I thought
Okay,
maybe it was my zombie lighting, but it was a Hangout glitch.
so we were discussing the Nexus 5.
Right.
Um,
Yeah,
And-
but there really wasn't much else left to talk about.
all right. This is going to be a throwaway episode, I can tell.
No, we got good ones coming up.
All right, hands-on with the 7-inch Amazon Kindle Fire HDX. This is an interesting device. And this is a good review. I really
This is a
think
good
that
review, really?
it's a positive review. But I am excited about this device mainly because I can watch Amazon Prime Video on this device, and I can't easily. I mean, I can with using the Puffin browser. But what do you guys think? Are you intrigued by this device?
No.
Alan, you're not a good talking head tonight.
You know, the reviewer says, I am unapologetic. I am an unapologetic Kindle Fire user. So, you know, you take the review from that standpoint. But, you know, I'm intrigued by the device, as I had mentioned before when we first talked about these new Kindle Fires coming out. There are going to be some people who are buying a tablet for the first time, who are into the Kindle marketplace and world, and they're going to purchase one of these, and for them, it will be a good device.
Duke, are you at all intrigued by this device?
Well, I'm not. I think it's going to be a popular device, though. With that said, I'm very rooted in the Google ecosystem, and even though I like Amazon very much, I don't like it enough to buy a tablet that's built around it. But just like Bruce said, yeah, I fully expect this thing to outsell any tablet that Google offers through its Nexus line.
Yeah, the Kindle Fires have been their #1 product on Amazon.com.
Yeah, but Duke, it's not exactly difficult to outsell anything that Google offers on the Nexus product line.
Can't argue that.
I mean, you know, we know that the total number of Nexus devices amount to less than 2% of the total number of Android devices hitting Google Play. Okay, that's nothing. And we know that the Kindles are outselling everything else. So, you know, it's not really tough.
Very true. Very true. Can't argue with you whatsoever. But you know, and you know, really, it appears to be a pretty well built device. I've picked up the Amazons. I've played with them in the stores. They're not bad tablets, you know.
My mom has one, and I mean, it's very well built. It's a nice. It's got the one she has. I think has stereo front-facing speakers, which is one of my gripes about the Nexus 7, which I adore as a device to read Flipboard and just general stuff you do on a tablet. But for watching media, it sucks. I mean, the speaker sucks. There's one speaker. It's on the back of the device. It sucks. I don't know why they put the speaker on the back.
Hey, Dan, does the speaker suck?
It sucks, like a vacuum cleaner.
So let me make sure I understand this. The speaker
Oh
sucks?
my God, it's going to be a long show. I can tell.
It better not be a long show.
So
We can
anyway,
make it short. You want me to make it shorter? I can do that.
no, don't watch your strike through there. Okay, so we're all going to buy this product. I can tell. All right, next up, Google ditching Google TV branding, but Android will stay in the living room. Can you explain this to us, Alan? Don't you have a Google? Who has a Google TV?
I do not have a Google Duke, I didn't know you had a Google TV. How do you like it? Which one do you have? And unmute yourself, Duke.
I've got two actually. I have the original Logitech, and I also have a Sony. In fact, let's see if I can pull this one off. As we speak, I have Google TV playing right now. That's got the Twit network going here. I'll tell you, Google TV is listen guys, it'll do more than Apple TV, it'll do more than a Roku, a Boxy, it'll do a whole lot more than Chromecast, okay? But it's buggy. I don't care which brand. Like I say, I've got a Sony, I've got a Logitech, both of them. The interface is buggy. It's clunky, but it's in the case of the Sony, it's got a true Chrome browser built into it. The Logitech says Chrome, but it's not. It's like I say, it's not a bad device, but I've never felt that Google has gotten behind it like they should. Everybody knows that Hulu didn't want to get behind them. There's several things that you can do on Roku and Apple TV that you can't do on Google because I guess the licensing agreements just never came through. But listen, I wish Google well, because Google TV has not worked for Google as a company. If they can do something to call it Android whatever, I'll probably support them, because I actually like my Google TVs.
I was in a phone call with Craig Shipp, and he was trolling me, of course, like he does on the show. And it was funny. He called me up with some problem, and I was working him through the solution to it. And he said, you know, it's good to have you Windows and Android guys available, because when something goes wrong, he's an Apple user. He says, you know, if something goes wrong, it's really good to know a friend or two who is a Windows or Android user, because they're so used to dealing with glitches and working through bugs. And it was funny, and he was trolling me, but it's not entirely inaccurate, nor is it unfair, I don't think.
Yeah, it's entirely inaccurate and unfair. The difference is that Apple users, when they encounter a bug, they redefine it as a feature. So, you know that motion sickness you get when you use iOS? That's a feature. Okay? Your time machine backup disappearing on you, that's a feature. You didn't need those backups anyway.
The ability to disable your phone by putting your finger in a certain place next to the antenna. The original.
Right, that's a feature. Anyway.
Just real quick, I want to say right now from my Google TV, I can watch Amazon. I can pull up Amazon Prime Movie. You know, there's a lot of devices out there that is still not supported. You know, they still can't do Amazon, so that is a plus for Google TV.
I would bet when the new Android, if this comes out and gets rebranded Android TV, then Amazon is not going to support it. I would not be surprised in the least if Amazon decided to not support it.
Is it weird that they took Google's free operating system and branched it off and created their own, and are selling tablets using a derivative of Amazon, and at the same time they are, but they're competing. So it seems like I understand that it helps them sell tablets. That's the only reason I would consider getting a Kindle Fire, whatever the hell they call it, HDX.
That was the previous story, Dan.
Yeah, but on the Amazon thing, the only reason I would consider doing it is because of that. But at the same time, I'm a paying customer, and it's the only device that I can't watch Amazon Prime videos on. That's frustrating. But obviously, I'm the only one who feels that. Okay, so
the rest of us moved on to the next topic already. So
right.
I think the rebranding an Android TV would be interesting. I think if that actually comes with the fact that they'd support it with the latest version of Android, maybe that might be nice. And I think if they just got rid of the incredibly clunky interface that comes with it, I think Chromecast demonstrated that the future is in having your own tablet, and having a remote control with a keyboard is just the stupidest way to do things.
Well, I remember when the Chromecast came out, they said there was one of the stories that said that this was just the beginning. This was a small device, but that Google TV was going to be dramatically changed. I think we all agree that if it is merely a rebranding of the Google TV product, then it's not going to be a success. But if it is, in fact, a rebirth of a new product with this brand that works and is less buggy, then it could be a home run.
Google TV is what? It's is it 2.5, 3 years old now? And this is the Logitech keyboard for Google TV. I actually like this keyboard. The Sony keyboard is a remote control that's double-sided, that is awkward as it can be. It can be backlit, but you can't get the backlit to stay on it. It seems to drift off before I've done typing in the web page. You know, it's just awkward.
Duke, don't get me wrong. I think that the keyboard actually looks like a decent keyboard, and Logitech knows how to make keyboards. The problem is a keyboard on a TV seems utterly stupid.
I have a keyboard on my TV. This is my Vizio,
And
with my little.
does not necessarily negate my point, Dan.
No, it's crazy. But this, and it's clunky. But so what I do, if my TV was not hooked up to my computer, I would have to use this, and this sucks. This is worse. No, this is not as bad, but close to the quality of my Nexus 7 speaker. But this
compare that, Dan, to the Chromecast, and getting back to Alan's point that you're controlling it with your phone or tablet, and how simple the interface is on that versus what you were just holding up. I think that Chromecast could be the future.
Yeah, I like the idea that you can use because you're not really searching. You're searching in YouTube or in Netflix and then redirecting that signal to the Chromecast, as opposed to Google TV, where you're on that device itself, right? You're actually searching for whatever video.
Well, you've got a keyboard that's the browser, and your browser is the Google TV. It's a computer. I mean, it's a computer that runs apps. That's what it is, and they're Android apps. So, like any other Android device, it needs a keyboard of some sort.
I think this product is in the toddler years. It's not a tween or a preteen yet. It's a toddler, and we're going to see some dramatic growth because things that young grow, and this is a big space that they're in now. And I think that with Google getting into cable television with Google Fiber and making deals, and there are rumors about them, working with networks to create a virtual cable system. I think it's all tied in.
There's the funny thing, of course, that Dan's not listening to. The funny thing, of course, is that people who are using who get Google Fiber, get a completely different box that has absolutely nothing to do with Google TV or Android TV or Chromecast. It's a completely different system. And it uses a Nexus 7 as its remote control. Anyway, I think we all agree.
We all agree. I'm right, Alan's wrong. Just kidding. Okay. Next up, rumor mill, Alan's favorite source of information. KitKat will feature a new launcher called Google Experience, and they actually have a screen capture here of this thing on the left. This is after you create the widget, Google Experience can access all data that it displays. Blah blah blah. We've heard all sorts of things about KitKat. Do you think it's going to be as rumored a sort of a major release? I mean, it's got to be something, because otherwise they wouldn't give it a new letter name. How much of what we're going to see unveiled fairly soon, Alan, do you think has been unveiled, and are we going to be shocked by some things?
With all of these rumors coming out, I think the only thing we're going to be shocked by is the fact that that some of these rumors were totally and utterly wrong. I don't know if this is one of them, but honestly, who cares that they renamed the launcher the Google Experience? Really, who cares? And who came up with this name? Somebody from Seattle? I mean, seriously, is it going to play music in the background? Who cares?
I don't know. It's no better a name than Google Now. I don't think Google Now is a good name. Google's not good at naming things.
Google Now is a great name. Just people don't understand why it's called Google Now.
This is kind of convoluted. I mean, it's only going to be on pure Nexus devices, right? I mean, Samsung's got TouchWiz and everybody else has got their thing. So the iPhone people may have a little bit of an argument to say, at least, I know there's some people, when I had the iPhone, I jailbreak it and you come up with different kind of launchers. And icons and themes and stuff like that. But it gets really confusing when you think about, like I like the Nova launcher. I prefer to use that over the Samsung TouchWiz. But, here's just another launcher. I mean, we talked about Themer last week, and now we've got the Google experience. Oh, wow.
You make it sound sexier than it really is, Bruce, I think.
Yeah, but that's his voice.
Yeah.
And my zombie lighting tonight.
Absolutely. Keeping with the latest television programs. Bruce
So
is
what's next,
always
Dan?
at the cutting edge of fashion. Bruce Turner. Okay, Google Next is, Google is to make improvements to the tablet version of the Play Store on November 21st. Alan, you're a developer, and
Well, first of all, you have to remember that they kind of previewed this back at I/O back in May. They told us that they were going to be increasing the amount of exposure that tablet apps are going to be getting, and they suggested developers A, develop for it, and then B, make sure they're tablet optimized, and then C, advertise that fact. So their solution to this is they're going to be creating the tablet ready section of the Play Store. Well, I think this is a good and noble effort. Once again, Google totally and utterly misses the boat in understanding A, their own product, and B, how people use their app store. If I've got a tablet, the last thing I'm going to do is go to the apps, go to Play and say, "Ooh, let me find something that works just fine on my tablet." No. Okay, they just played into Apple's hand. Apple loves saying, "We have X bazillion apps optimized for the tablet." Honestly, who the freak cares? Yes, I want something that works nicely on my tablet. I also want something that works nicely on my phone. If you've got a phablet, your app should work fabulously on it. So what are they going to do next? Create the phablet section of Google Play Store? No, seriously. I'm sorry. They're missing the boat on this. What they need to do, and what they've needed to do now for years, and they need to do this on so many other things, and they are still not doing so, is they need to be able to say, "Hey, let me search for things that work nice on my device. Hey, let me search for things that are appropriate for a 7-year-old. Oh, wait, 7-year-olds don't use Android. I forgot. They're not allowed to." But, that sort of thing. Let me set attributes, review those attributes, let me search for those attributes. Stop doing stupid stuff with the Play Store. Give me real features, not fake features like this. That's my opinion as, a developer.
as an unbiased, calm, rational developer. Yeah, I remember when I first got my Nexus
to get
7.
unhinged, I can get unhinged.
Oh, I know. But when I first got my Nexus 7, you'd see some apps that were, I don't know what the cause was, but they looked like pixelated. They were just blown up
pixelated.
in a larger screen. And I would like to see, and like Flipboard is a good example of an app that behaves very differently and is obviously two separate apps, one for tablets and one for phones.
It's not two separate apps.
I mean, it appears to be two separate apps.
Well, that's because they know how to actually write code. This is actually the big difference between the Google, the Android type experience and the experience of, certain other certain other hardware platforms. Okay? Google, because it has a tremendous number of screen sizes that it needs to support, encourages developers to figure out what screen size it's running on and adapt appropriately. Okay? Now, so what if I've got a phablet that happens to have this screen size? This isn't a phablet, obviously. This is, my Nexus 7.
Note the white back from the original
Note the white back, yes.
IO. Yes.
But what does it matter if it is a tablet or what we're currently calling a phone? It doesn't matter. The screen size, the screen dimensions, the screen resolution, that matters. So just because we're stupid enough to call this a tablet and this a phone doesn't mean that Google should be, giving into that stupidity. Next subject.
You're kind of a downer tonight, Alan.
I was just wondering if you had paper towels there, because every time he kept saying the word phablet, I was just getting concerned.
The desk is a little moist at the moment.
Um, all right, so all right, that's that. Okay, next up, we had a really good question from one of our buddies, Archer. I don't know how to pronounce his last. Is it rehcra? I don't know. It's Archer. But he asks, and this is a great question. He said, Dan McDermott, if this isn't too rudimentary, perhaps you could address this question on Monday. I'm getting zero response to my question. People of Android, as an Android noob, I beseech thee, to root or not to root? That is the question. And if so, is this the way to go? And then he links to this Android Roots with a Z website. And so I basically, his thing is, and it's just like my thing, is that he's not sure which way to go. He doesn't want to break his phone. So I've got 3 links in our topics here. The first link is this question, so a general discussion, and then to ask about this app this site that he's looking at. And then I just saw a story just randomly, I ran into it, about this ROM installer. And then I saw a scary story about the Verizon Note 3 gets root but wipes device in the process. So let's begin, because that's the problem. People are afraid, am I going to break my phone? So I know a couple of you guys, I don't know if Alan has, but I know that Duke, you're a big fan, and Bruce, you've done it. So what do you guys think? I guess we'll start with Alan and then Bruce and then Duke. But what do you think?
Go in the other direction. Start with Duke.
Okay, let's start with Duke. Should he root? The question was, should I root? And if so, is this Netroots thing the way to go? That's the first question for Duke.
Well, I can't answer that question directly. I am going to tell him.
And you're responsible, by the way, Duke. If he roots and breaks his phone, you've got the warranty coverage.
Oh yeah, that disclaimer comes on every root site. Absolutely. First of all, why are you rooting? I mean, if your phone currently doesn't do something that you need it to do, then you probably ought to root. On the other hand, if your phone's doing everything you need it to, why root it? Okay. Yes, I've rooted a lot of my Android devices. I finally, probably maybe 2 months ago, got around to rooting my original Note. The reason why I didn't root it was I didn't need to. And then finally I got to the point where I was wanting to do some things that I couldn't do without rooting. And, it used to be Wi-Fi hotspot. Maybe I wanted to activate a Wi-Fi hotspot. You used to have to root to do that. You don't necessarily have to do that anymore. There's a lot of Wi-Fi apps out there to support it without rooting it. Maybe you don't like the ROM that you got on it, and you can root for that. But you probably ought to have a purpose for wanting to root it before you root it. And yeah, go ahead, Bruce. I've talked enough.
But before Bruce, let me do a quick for folks who don't really understand rooting, or in an iPhone, it's called jailbreaking. Basically, you're getting root access. That's what it means. You're getting access to the root of the device, and you can install some things you couldn't otherwise. You can get rid of programs you couldn't otherwise. If you want a basic explanation of what rooting is, I highly recommend you go to YouTube and you search for Marques Brownlee's video. It's Marques, and last name is Brownlee. Young kid who does these tech videos, and he's excellent, and he's got a really good one. Google his name, Marques Brownlee, root phone or something, and you'll find it. And he does a really good 3 or 4 minute explanation on what it is, how to do it, that sort of thing, to get a basic understanding. Because some folks don't understand why you would do it. Go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was going to say rooting began on the campus of the University of Arkansas Razorbacks. That's where rooting first started, but no, not seriously. I agree with Duke. You got to have a reason to root if you're going to root. My reason was originally in Hangouts, you couldn't do a Hangout over your data network on the phone unless you could root and use a program like SQL Editor and go in and rewrite some of the code. The other main reason that I rooted was so that I could, in shows like this, use AirDroid to its fullest capacity. That is where I could share my Android screen right here within the Hangout. I'm using my Chromebook tonight, so I won't be demonstrating that this evening, but there were two reasons to do that. So right now my Note 2 is not rooted, but I'm interested in thinking about rooting it again just so that I can take this app that we're going to talk about next as part of this conversation for a spin, the ROM installer to which Dan alluded to earlier. So
Let me go to Alan next and ask a question for Alan. In Marques Brownlee's video, when he describes rooting, he says he has a S3, a Samsung Galaxy S3, and he rooted it and he installed one of these ROMs, and basically it comes close to duplicating the pure Nexus experience on his Galaxy S3. So is that a reason to do it? I mean, does that work? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't have an S3. It depends. If you're looking for a pure Nexus experience on an S3, maybe it does what you want. Maybe it doesn't. Honestly, my answer is actually slightly different than Duke and Bruce's. When I looked at the question, my initial reaction was no, don't root it. You're a novice Android user, don't root it. If you do find something that you think you need rooting for, look again, because you probably still don't want to root it. And only after that, if you really, really think you found something that you need to root it for, then maybe start thinking about rooting it. And in some ways, yeah, that's what Duke and Bruce were saying, but really, don't approach it with the attitude of, oh, I'm going to get this phone and root it. Approach it with the attitude of, I'm getting a phone. I'm using a phone. The point of me getting it is to use it for some reason, presumably. If it's not doing what you want at that point, then maybe kind of start thinking about rooting, but not before that.
But definitely do your research, extensive research. Read up a lot about the pros and cons. So the next thing here, and we'll go back to Duke, there's this ROM manager. JRummy releases ROM installer to the Play Store, and the story is it's like ROM manager on steroids. So I know Duke, you and Bruce have rooted your devices. So what do you think about this particular flavor of a ROM installer? Is this something that folks should consider?
Well, I'll tell you what, before I talk about JRummy, just let me, getting back to the question here, this Android Roots website, getting back to talking about doing your research for rooting, I've never heard of this website. I'm not so sure I would recommend this website to root your device. The XDA forums are excellent. This is just, man, it's what a repository for Android devices and rooting. Be prepared to read. But yeah, I'm always a little bit leery of sites like this when Android roots. As far as JRummy goes, let me tell you something. I'm going to be checking this out. The biggest reason I'm going to be checking this out is that right now this is in a beta period, and this is free. Once it exits a beta period, it's going to require a premium license. This looks like an incredible app for people who do root, like to exchange ROMs, and I'll be honest with you, I'm pretty excited about this app.
I am too, and I downloaded it, and once I looked at it and read some more on it and some other reviews, I went ahead and paid a premium for the premium, and I didn't get just the low tier premium. I went ahead and paid $4.99. I like to support developers who are doing good work like this, and the UI, everything about it, I think has tremendous potential. So I went ahead and bought the gold plan for the premium version. And but now I do have to root my phone if I want to do this. But the ability to do this thing's got everything in it. I mean, backup, restore, downloading, installing the custom ROM. It makes it a lot more bulletproof.
Any thoughts on this, Alan?
Nope.
Okay, so next up is the fear. There's a story from this guy got a Note 3, and on this topic, I would also recommend to anyone considering rooting a phone is you look for a good Google Plus community that is dedicated to this topic. I'm sure they're out there, and you could get advice from trusted sources that folks who are real and not trying to sell you something or trying to put spam on your phone, and ask your questions there. That'd be a great place to go. So this Note 3, there's a story, it wiped his device, it gave him a brick, and that's the fear that everyone has. And that's the fear I think that Duke initially alluded to is, there's a risk involved in rooting your phone. And you could end up with a brick, which is the term for a phone that doesn't work anymore. Do you guys have any advice on this? And is how afraid should we be when considering rooting our phone that we'll end up with a phone that doesn't work, and the warranty's voided and you're screwed?
If you're getting a brand new phone like the Note 3, when a new phone comes out, it's going to be a while before there are accessories for it, cases and things like that. And to get a brand new Note 3 where people, there have been stories about people who were able to root it and stuff like that. But man, if you've got a new phone, give it at least a month or two before you let other people go through the the problems and the troubleshooting and the bricking and stuff like that. Wait a while. There's no hurry.
I can't argue with Bruce. The longer you wait, a lot of times they have these one-click roots on a lot of these phones. They normally don't come quick, but after the phone's been around a while, basically you sideload an app, onto your device, activate the app, and you're rooted. And I've actually had my Motorola Atrix was actually rooted just in that fashion. It's here again, I can't stress, unless you have a reason to gain access to your root folder on your device, don't root. I mean, if you've got a reason that you can't use the phone unless you root it, then maybe you ought to take the time and effort. But unless it's that, I don't think rooting's as necessary as it was 2 years ago. I really don't.
I think, we got some good advice here, and the bottom line, you have to remember that we've all had to call your carrier at some point, and they all will help you if you have a problem with your phone. Of course, if you've installed a ROM or something, then they're not going to help you. Or
on the plus side, and let me make sure to follow on with what Duke was saying. The plus side is a lot of the features that we now take for granted in Android and some of the later Android builds, we first saw in some custom ROMs, and those custom ROMs are only there because people were able to root phones and install those custom ROMs and play around with them. So, I'm glad that there are people out there that are doing it. I'm really glad that there are people who are willing to sacrifice their phones and their time to make some really, really awesome stuff. But unless you're one of those people, wait a bit. Learn the ropes.
Yeah, I'm petrified. I mean, I don't really have a reason. I've basically followed Duke's advice without getting it until tonight, but I really haven't had a reason. I've seen some apps out there that say, root required, but then if you look around, there's usually another app that isn't requiring root. Tethering was one example, and there are some that require root and some that don't. And so, patience is a virtue in this case, because you don't want to end up with a brick phone. And I would be curious to find, Archer, if you want to, because I'm sure you're going to watch this, because we messaged each other before the show. I would be curious to know the reasons why you're considering it, and see if we could find some way that would involve that you could accomplish the same goal. Okay, next up, Eric Schmidt, what is he now? What's his title? Chairman?
Executive chairman, I think.
Chairman at large, something. He called, this is a story from The Verge. He said if you polled many people in this audience, they would say Google Android is not the principal platform. When you say Android, people say, wait a minute, Android is not secure, said the questioner, and Schmidt said, not secure, it's more secure than the iPhone. And the answer reportedly drew laughs from the audience in attendance, although Schmidt apparently did not give a direct explanation. He pointed to Android's billion-plus device activations and stringent security testing. Let me go to Bruce first on this, because Bruce, you're a former iPhone user, and you switched to Android. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, the impression is that iPhone, being a closed system, has a lot more protections for the apps that are released. They go through what is at least perceived to be a more thorough vetting process before they get in there. And there were some problems earlier in the Google Play Store where some apps got in there that created havoc. I think most recently it was interesting to see the number of BlackBerry Messenger apps, quote unquote, that were released in there. And so, you know, I think the public's perception is that the iPhone or the iTunes Store is more secure as far as their vetting process for apps than the Google Play Store. I think the Google Play Store is getting better with that, and I'm certainly you know, comfortable with what I'm doing in there right now. But
well, we have to keep in mind two things. The Play Store really doesn't do all that much vetting at all. They rely on a lot more automated tools than Apple does. And in a lot of cases, those automated tools work, and in a lot of cases, they don't. One of the things that Android relies on a lot more and does a lot better than the iPhone does is it's got the compartmentalized sandboxing, and it has the very, very rich and robust permission requests that are there. iOS is almost totally lacking those. And we recently saw, as recently as a year ago, I believe, that there were apps that were written for the iPhone that would just go ahead and read your contact list, and you'd never know that they read your contact list. Whereas on the Android side of the world, that's a specific permission. You have to specifically request permission to do that, and presumably people who install apps know that that's what their app is going to let them do. So I think in some ways, yes, it's true. An Android app is more secure than an iOS app. But the difference is that Apple reviews their apps a lot more stringently than Google does, and it probably weeds out some of the worst offenders that way. That said, Eric Schmidt really should keep his mouth shut, because the more he speaks, the more trouble he gets Googling.
Well, like I say, it's Apple does have a more stringent vetting process, and Android's more open. I would say that this is BS on Schmidt's part, just because Google is open. There's so many ways to get apps on Google devices that people aren't careful. That's not to say that Android isn't secure. I'm just saying that with the various iterations of Android out there and all the different app stores, so forth, etc., you just don't have the vetting process across the platform like you do on iOS.
But don't you have a
That's true.
vetting process by commenters and users, ratings?
Well, no. I mean,
if something has
what
a million downloads, it's been around for 6 months, the odds are.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
but
common
you-
sense to a degree, isn't it? I mean, if it's from a trusted source, it's been around for a while, it's got a lot of positive reviews, the odds are it's not going to screw with you, right? To my knowledge, I've never had malware put on my phone that I know of. I mean,
Well, but here's the thing, Dan. You're only going through the Google Play Store. What Duke's pointed out is that you don't need to just go through the Google Play Store. There are tons and tons of other app stores out there. Most of those are the ones where the viruses and the other malwares are coming from.
Exactly.
how much
And-
of it is something snuck through the Play Store or Amazon Store or whatever,
Very, very little.
versus,
Very, very
hey,
little.
Alan, I've got an APK of this paid app that's cracked, and you can use it for free,
But you've
and
also
I'm
got very
sending it,
little.
emailing it to you, that sort of thing.
You've also got very little of that, Dan, because most users have no idea how to install an APK. What most the way the and those users who do are smart enough to know where they're coming from and how they're doing what they're doing. Where this is coming from are people who are told, hey, there's this other app store out there, and if you install this app store, you'll be able to get these other apps for free.
Yeah, or it's, hey, you know that $5 app in the Google Play Store? Right here's a link where you can get it for nothing. That's normally where you get the malware. Okay.
So you're being greedy.
Well, I think what Schmidt was trying to say is if you go through the authorized channels, you're safe and you're more secure, and if you don't go through it, you're only, causing yourself a world of hurt.
As Craig would say. Okay. All right. Next, our final topic before our recommended apps is this is just sort of a fun topic. We found out who made the Android logo, and there's an article in the New York Times, and her name is Irina. I guess it's Irina Block, B-L-O-K, and I'll just share the first paragraph here. It says, Irina Block may have drawn one of the most recognized logos in the world, but her association with the green Android has not made her famous. Block can think of only one incident when she garnered the public's attention for designing it. She and her 6-year-old daughter were in a movie theater waiting for Alice in Wonderland to begin when an Android logo flashed on the screen. Her daughter recalls suddenly stood up and yelled, "My mommy invented that." Everyone in the row in front of them turned around to stare. Block was so embarrassed, she said, she sank down behind her popcorn. I just thought it was interesting that to find out who had come up with the logo, and her instructions were involve a robot in some way. And so she came up with the ubiquitous Android, which you see on the screen now. In the top right, you can see the KitKat version. It's had several different versions. I mean, this isn't really a big topic, obviously, but any thoughts? Or
Yeah,
it works.
I've got a thought. I'm sorry, I've got a thought, Dan. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and enlarge this so anybody that is watching and not listening can see the different iterations. But just let me say this. The other day I was at work, and I got a CNN news alert on my phone. It was breaking news alert. And it was identifying the voice behind Siri. Okay? It really ticked me off because it was a CNN breaking news alert on the real voice behind Siri. Hey, kudos to the New York Times that they just posted this on their website, and they didn't actually send me an email to let me know who invented the Android logo.
Yeah, I saw a tweet once from one of the reporters I follow, and he said, I thought that CNN had actually taken down their breaking news logo, but it turns out it was just a commercial.
I don't know. The Android logo is cute. I love this guy who I got at I/O this year, and this special edition one that I got at I/O last year. So and there are people that collect these models. So it's a fun and cute thing. I think it's nice that they've got a little mascot like that people can rally around.
I think it's cool that they build the statues in front of the building. That's neat.
Well, and you got to remember that the statues up until it was only the last few releases where the statues incorporated the Android model. I mean, the early ones just had statues of the code name. Cupcake was just a statue of a cupcake.
No robotic elements to it. Okay. Bruce, do you want to weigh in on the breaking news that we now know?
It's a cute little green man. It's all about branding, and the fact that we're talking about it. I mean, it's become pervasive, in society. So
they should do a tie-in with NASA and Elon Musk and put it on the side of a spaceship.
By the way, it's an interesting article. I encourage our listeners to read the article anyway, because it talks about logo design, and it's a big part of marketing and branding. So
it notes one of the things about the FedEx logo.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at it, and this is something I saw on a list of things you wouldn't know about logos, and I'm just going to pull it up here. FedEx logo. There's actually an arrow.
Yeah, I never saw the arrow till that was pointed out. I saw that in the Google Plus stream.
Yeah, between the E and the X, there's an arrow right there, and it's one of those, it's subtle, but it's a very recognizable logo. Of course, when I was a kid, they were Federal Express, and they changed their name to FedEx for different reasons. Then Burger King became BK, I guess chicken KFC, so they're not using the word fried, like we don't know it's fried chicken, but more power to them, I guess. All right, so I guess we're at the favorite part, our recommended apps of the week, and shocking, the breaking news, the CNN BRK breaking news tonight is that Alan Furstenberg actually has a recommended app of the week.
Yes,
So
I do.
let's go to Alan, and it's I think software. It's not hardware. It's not a troll app.
My recommended app of the week is Dots. This is an incredibly cool game. It is an awesome game. I have spent way too much time playing this game. For anybody who actually wants to get something done during the day, I recommend you do not download this app. For the rest of you who like a nice challenge, good fun, some good brain exercise, this is the game to play. That is Dots.
Haven't you been playing that like during basically all the shows for like 2 weeks?
No, that was a different game. That was my last recommended app of the week was Triple Town. I've stopped playing Triple Town. I now play Dots.
Well, it looks like those candies.
It has nothing to do with the candies. Basically, the object of the game is to connect dots. Connect 2 or more dots, you clear the dots, more dots fall down, keep connecting them. Connect as many as you can.
Tetris meets candy. Or
Kind of, yeah.
Othello meets candy, maybe. I don't know.
Anyway, that's my recommended app of the week. Bruce.
And this is the breaking news. Bruce, for the very first time, doesn't have a recommended app of the week.
All right, so we'll go to Dan.
I'm on vacation. What can I say?
You're perpetually on vacation, you guys.
I'm sipping sangria on the deck and listening to Diana Krall. I haven't had time to think about my app.
All right, so
Dan, what's your app of the week?
My app of the week is White Noise Light. Now, this is kind of cool because what you can do is you can play. I forgot to bring my Nexus 7
I
here.
almost made that my app of the week. I was playing with it, but I said, no, that's kind of a lame app. I don't want to. No, go ahead.
So you must have found it on the on our Flipboard magazine plug.
I use it and I like it.
There's an Our Android Week Flipboard magazine where I usually share all the stories that are being considered for inclusion in the show. But it's kind of it's kind of neat. There's like a crickets chirping and a train, an airport, which I know Jeff Zayas would love because he's like an activist who hates airports, and was constantly complaining when he lived next to one. But this is there's a free version, and then I guess there's a paid. I don't know if it has more sounds or whatever, but I think it's got like a built-in alarm clock, and it'll wake you up with the sound of crickets chirping, that sort of thing. So if you're one of those people who has to have a fan blowing or something, some sort of noise, and you're in a hotel, and for whatever reason, you can't lug around your box fan, or it's cold, then you can use White Noise Light and sleep.
Can I give you a testimony about White Noise Light?
Sure.
I was staying at the DoubleTree on Melbourne Beach, and they gave me a room on the second floor. And I got in my room, and I got all settled in, and all of a sudden I heard what I could have sworn was a parrot. I mean, really. And then a dog was barking in the same room. So I went downstairs. I said, do you guys allow pets here? Yeah, we do, on the second floor. So I had a parrot and a bird in the same room.
Oh, my God.
And White Noise allowed me to get some sleep. I also use White Noise when my wife says, honey, I'm going to be firing up the Vitamix. I know you're fixing to go to bed. White Noise can trump the sound of a whirring Vitamix or a NutriBullet. So,
what kind of ghetto-ass hotels do you stay at, Bruce, where they have parrots?
The DoubleTree was beachside. I mean, it was a nice place, but I just happened to get on the second floor where they allow pets.
You can't smoke in the room, but you can bring a parrot. Oh, my God. Oh, wow. Epic fail. But luckily, the White Noise app was there.
Saved the day. Yeah, White Noise.
Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee. Tell us about your show first, Duke, when folks can catch that.
Oh, yeah, Bruce and I do a show on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. called Android Journal. And we also participate most Thursday nights in the show. It's called Tech News Week, all sponsored by Google Plus community called Tech and Coffee. All right, my app this week is an app that has been featured before. I know I did this early on when we started our Android Week. I know Dan's done it, and it's Stitcher Radio. The reason why I'm redoing it is they recently updated the interface, and I'm going to show you here. You used to be able to swipe, but now you can browse shows. I'm going to take you into my stations that I've set up, and here's my favorites playlist. And if you'll notice right there, you can see there's our Android Week. And there's the two shows that I was just talking about, Android Journal and Tech News Week. This is a great little audio podcast app. I really love it. And it's got a thing called Smart Station. It will listen to what you are listening to and recommend stations that you like based upon what you've been listening to. And I really like Stitcher Radio. It's an app that I use weekly, and that's my app this week, Dan.
Excellent. And that reminds me, we just switched from Libsyn to SoundCloud for the audio version of this program, and I've got to update the RSS feed. And if you do a show, I recommend you check out SoundCloud. They were great. I talked to them, and they set me up with an account with an RSS feed. It's a beta program, but they were super nice. It was very complimentary on our shows, and excited that we were moving there. And instead of me paying $95 a month for this show and Google Plus Week, I'm paying $100 a year. So that's
you say our shows, Dan. What is our other show?
Funny you should mention. And we should plug the Hangout 10 network, which Craig religiously posts both of our shows there. So hangout10.com. Craig Shipp, our friend from Google Plus Week, which, as you mentioned, is our other program that we're on. And that is every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on YouTube Live and Google Plus. You can always catch us on the channel you're watching this now, or you can just go to myname.net, danmcdermott.net, and that's my Google Plus page, and I always post the player right before we go live. And the shows are there as well. My YouTube channel is McDermott Report. And so I guess we're good. I guess this show's complete now that we've covered the White Noise app. And Stitcher Radio, our quarterly recommendation of Stitcher.
Yeah, I would add one thing. I mean, the biggest thing about the new release of Stitcher Radio is it now offers offline listening. That's huge. I mean, the Stitcher Radio app on iOS had that feature for some time. So now you can download and listen to them offline. You don't have to be connected. It's great for you're traveling, you're in the plane.
That is fantastic. And we've talked about how the YouTube app is going to... an upcoming release is going to do that, and that's a big deal. People want to consume content where and when they want to consume it in the manner they choose. They don't want to have to race home to watch the 6 o'clock news. They want to watch it online later or whatever, what have you. And so one of the things we've done with this program, with Google Plus Week, is we try to make it available in different ways and different settings for folks. And that's great that they're doing that. So good for them. Kudos to Stitcher. And I have to update our RSS feed, so folks, because I think September 30th is the last one that it showed there on Duke's screen, because it's my fail. I just forgot. Okay, so thanks so much to the panel. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the audience. And we'll be back every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And until then, have a wonderful, epic, awesome, killer Android week. For folks, and that's great that they're doing that. So good for them. Kudos to Stitcher. And I have to update our RSS feed, so folks, because I think September 30th is the last one that it showed there on Duke's screen, because it's my fail. I just forgot. Okay, so thanks so much to the panel. We really appreciate it. Thanks to the audience. and we'll be back.